we are recording now, and it's 10 a.m., so I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Obviously, we're on Zoom, and I see that both Commissioner Wetherell and Commissioner Wilkins are here, so we have a quorum present. It's a little awkward to do flag salute over Zoom, so I think I will skip that, and I'll go into additions and revisions to the agenda.
I don't have any.
I don't have anything.
Okay. And then correspondence and public comments. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to, you can't really raise your hand on here. There's a raise your hand function, I think, sometimes on Zoom. To be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. As you guys all know, we're pretty informal around here, so folks can just interject if they want to be recognized. So for now, does anybody have any public comments? Those who are dialing in by phone can just unmute by hitting *6, but it looks like most of our folks are Gilliam County people who are on, plus Catherine. All right, I don't have any correspondence either, so let's move into the consent agenda.
Commissioner Wilkins, did you have any questions on the consent agenda?
I did have a question about the Gobi blanket purchase agreement. I just wondered why that change and, you know, what the background was behind that change.
Yeah, so my understanding is that they are actually working on the longer term agreement, and so this is sort of the stopgap to do month to month until we get the long-term agreement.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, which consists of approval of July 22nd regular meeting minutes, consider approval of July bills pending review, consider approval of amendment to the blanket purchase agreement with Gobi, consider approval of Amendment 3 to the water purchase agreement with Kevin Hagewood, consider approval of fiscal year 2020-2021 CAPCO services agreement for senior meal sites, and consider approval of engagement letter from Sussman Shank LLP. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Leslie, are you there? Are you frozen?
She's frozen. Frozen in time.
Let's give Commissioner Wetherell a second to jump back on. I don't think I did. That's okay. I'll go back up and add it. We're giving Leslie a minute because it looks like she lost connection with us. So, and I want to make sure she's recorded if she wanted to vote. So, bear with us 1 second. See, Sherrie, we thought we had this Zoom thing down.
I know, that was the one that said how much she liked it. And then we lost her. There she is.
And then we lost her. So, Leslie, you're still muted, and I'm holding open the vote because I didn't hear whether you were a yay or a nay.
No,
so
you
all
guys
those in favor,
everybody froze, and then you were gone. I'm a yay.
So let's call the vote again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I actually inadvertently missed a piece of correspondence, so I want to go back just briefly to that and just put on the record that we received a letter from the Port of Arlington basically responding. If you guys remember, we're going back and forth on scheduling a joint meeting over Willow Creek, and so they had sent us a letter saying that they'd received our letter, that they were interested in meeting to talk about the intergovernmental agreement, that they do not believe revisions to the agreements are necessary, but that they're willing to listen to our proposal. They suggested that of the dates we provided, that we meet on August 12th at 10 a.m. at either Arlington or Condon Fire Hall. They also requested that, or suggested that a moderator be part of that discussion. There's an agenda that's listed on here, and folks who are interested in seeing that will post this to the website so you can see the full letter. The other thing that they requested was that no public comment be allowed during the meeting. And so as an update to that, I had responded back to this letter, letting them know that August 12th worked for us at 10 a.m. I did suggest that we meet at Memorial Hall just because the boards with staff are large enough that we needed room for social distancing if the public showed up. I also conveyed that I did not think that a moderator was necessary for us to have a productive conversation, and that we would prefer that the public be allowed to provide comments. So that went back to them, and then I heard back from them last week that it turns out that they can't make the August 12th date work after all. And they will be presumably getting back to us with some dates. So that just kind of gives you the whole lay of the land of where we are. So we are basically in a holding pattern waiting for the port to get back to us with some potential dates to reschedule. And for those who want to, again, read that entire letter, it'll be on the website for folks to see. So let's go on to old business, which is the Frontier Telenet update. This is just a real brief one. The Frontier Telenet board met last week via phone, and it was a pretty brief meeting, but I did want to let you guys know that we're moving forward on collecting bids for the Roosevelt Tower. So Chris, I see you're on there. Gary will want to know that Ryan thought that we would have those back here in a couple of weeks, and by the end of the month that we would potentially be able to start construction. And then Cottonwood is sort of moving ahead as well. And those were really the only kind of takeaways that are pertinent. We're looking at some different systems upgrades and kind of weighing the pros and cons based on who's served by them. And we've got some equipment that connects some of our customers in Grant County that are internet customers, not 911 customers. And so there's been some question about how much should Frontier Telenet invest in those resources, given that, you know, in the foreseeable future, there's likely to be fiber to John Day in those areas that are using our wireless connection right now. And is it worth it to make a pretty significant investment for a client that may only be here for a year or two? So we're kind of weighing those options. The other thing that came out of that particular discussion related to that specific tower was that a lot of it is to support the ESD's connectivity for distance learning. And so one of the things that I asked Judge Morley to go back and speak with the ESD superintendent over there about was, given all of the funds that are coming out of the state to help support connectivity, if maybe that couldn't be something that we just went for a grant with the ESD to do, so that the state would pay for it rather than have Frontier Telenet pick it up. So that's pretty much it. It was a pretty short meeting, and I'm hoping we'll be meeting here in a couple of weeks to review the bids for the Roosevelt Tower so we can get that sorted and get the generator in there so that when we have power outages across the state line, that the sheriff's office and everybody's radios are not going down at the north end of the county. So that's all I've got on that. Any questions?
Oh, thank you.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Just a quick
under new business, we were scheduled to have Leah here for Waste Management's quarterly report. So I'm guessing she may just be a little bit late. So I think let's go through the agenda, and if she joins us, we'll fit her back in.
Did you have something?
I just had one question for.
Oh, great.
Oh, I just had one question for Liz. Did you mention anything about Cottonwood again? What did you say about Cottonwood?
So Cottonwood, Ryan is working with Don Hull right now to do the RFPs.
Okay.
So that one will be probably longer. I'm not expecting we'll see those until probably September, until we actually see the RFP come back to be approved, and then we'll start putting it out for actual bid.
Okay.
So it'll probably be this fall. But Roosevelt should be quicker because it's a smaller project to get a contractor for. So I'm going to skip down to 6.2, which is discuss waste management proposal for chamber donations in lieu of county energy payments. So this is just to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page. And we just did the conditional use permit, so this came up, and I think everybody, the court members are all aware of this, but Waste Management is currently using the methane gas that's generated from Columbia Ridge to produce and sell energy to the City of Seattle Light Department. And that has been with the county's approval. Currently, Waste Management does not pay the county any sort of host fee or anything related to that energy generation. Section 8 of the host fee and road maintenance agreement does have a section, Section 8, that does talk specifically about that generation, the methane gas and the electric generation, basically saying that Waste Management has an obligation to discuss with us in good faith sort of the economics of that energy generation. So Dave Lowe reached out to me a little over a week or so ago and contacted us to put forward a proposal for Waste Management, instead of providing the county with a host fee related to those that energy generation, to provide annual donations to both the Arlington and Condon Chambers of Commerce, instead of doing like a host fee to us. And so specifically, he proposed that Waste Management would be providing $25,000 annually, so that'd be $12,500 to each of the chambers for the length of the current Metro contract, which would be 10 years. And if we wanted to pursue something like this, we'd probably sign like a memorandum of understanding with Waste about what that agreement would look like. So he was wanting to know what we would think about that.
I need to declare conflict because my spouse is an employee of Waste Management, and so I'm going to refrain from further participation in accordance with ORS 244.1200.
Okay.
I do have some questions. I know that this is something that had happened before, that Waste Management had made donations to the chambers. I don't have all the history on that. Has it happened more than once?
I think they did it, and I have to check with the chambers. I thought that was like a 5-year agreement, but my understanding is that Waste never tied, so there was never an agreement with the county that said, instead of paying you a host fee or a fee for we'll do this donation. I think they did the donation, and now it sounds like Dave is looking to see if that donation could count as the contribution to the county, rather than have to pay us on top of the donations that they're sending to the chamber. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just would like to have a little more data on, what kind of electricity are they generating, and, a little more background to make a decision on whether that's in the county's best interest or not. But I know, Waste Management representatives on to answer any questions, I am assuming.
They're not that I see, and Dave had reached out earlier in the week and asked, had we had a chance to discuss it, and I told him it was coming up on Wednesday. And I did respond with him with those very questions you just asked about how much electricity is being generated, how much is Seattle paying per, unit, basically, so that we could also understand if they scale up over time, like what does that look like financially? And Dave has not responded to that email. So I'd be comfortable, Sherrie, in just going back to him and saying, we really need that financial information in order to understand the implication, remind him of their obligations under the host fee agreement, that they're going to share that information readily with us, and tell them we are not going to be able to make a decision until we have a clearer picture of that financial impact. If you're comfortable with that, I can convey that.
Yeah, and I'd also like to have maybe, have a conversation, maybe some senior management at Waste Management could maybe, participate in a meeting. This Zoom situation allows them to not have to travel to do that. So I'm not sure why we should make a decision on something without actually having a conversation.
Yeah. So what I'll do is, how about on the 19th, I think is our next one, I will ask that they be there. And then before that, though, I will ask if they will share that financial information. Because I think if we do decide to move forward, I don't think it's going to be a lengthy legal document. We need to memorialize it. But I do think we need a little bit more information about the financial implications for it before we make a decision.
Definitely.
Sound good? So we'll table it until the 19th, and then we'll see if we can get Waste Management to participate in that conversation. All right. We'll move on to 6.3, which is discuss strategic planning process and timeline. So basically, I think ideally when I was thinking about how we would do our strategic planning process, I had thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could have, focus groups in the community and, town halls. And with COVID the way it is, I'm just not thinking that's going to be feasible. And so rather than holding up our planning process, Lisa and I sort of thought through how we could do sort of a more remote online kind of feedback process so that we can get good input, have a lot of voices as part of the plan, but also ensure that it actually gets done and that we're just not waiting here at the mercy of COVID. So what I wanted to just share with you and get some feedback on is this is kind of what we were thinking about process and timeline to see if this seems like a good process and if the timeline will work for you guys. So basically today, obviously I'm sharing this approach with you. Tomorrow, if we decide to move forward, the county court members would receive what's called a SWOT analysis from Lisa. And basically it's just some easy questions. I think Lisa said it would take, half hour, 45 minutes for us just individually to think and provide feedback to her about, what we see as the county's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, basically, to kind of just give Lisa a lay of the land of the things that we think need to be priorities, basically, in strategic planning.
Excuse me. Did you guys just lose me, or did everybody stall out there for a little bit?
You bumped out for a second.
I wonder so it's me? It's on my end?
It's you.
Oh, me. Okay, the last thing I heard you say was that you didn't want to hold up the planning because of COVID and everything. And then after that, you guys were all froze up and it was just me.
You didn't miss much. So basically what I was saying is that if we decided to move forward, that tomorrow the three of us would each individually receive what's called a SWOT analysis from Lisa in order to prevent us having a public meeting. Lisa would be collecting that information individually from each of us. And it would just be probably 30, 45 minutes to sort of capture on paper for her what each of us sees as the county's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to just kind of give her a lay of the land of the things that we're sort of servicing each individually that are lining up between the three of us as things that the county might want to address in the strategic plan. And then based on that, so that would give us a couple of weeks to get that information back to Lisa. And then based on the responses we give her, we would then draft an employee survey and then a community survey that tries to dig down deeper into that sort of initial feedback that we give to Lisa. So I would help Lisa. I wouldn't be able to see, you know, what you and what the two of you send to Lisa in terms of, you know, your perceived threats and all those kinds of things. But with the knowledge that Lisa has, she and I would then work together to put together a community survey and an employee survey, which would be released in early September. And then we'd give folks a couple of weeks to get that back to us. So we have time to, you know, push that out over internet and ask the chambers to help us and put it in the paper, all those kinds of things. And then once those responses come back, I would use the responses from the community then to draft sort of a framework for a strategic plan. So a draft, basically the first draft, that I would then share with the elected officials so they could provide some feedback based on that step. And that, I'm anticipating that whole process would take, you know, late September, early October, basically to complete. And then the idea would be that probably in late October that we would reconvene at a work session to actually look at that draft after the elected officials' feedback has been incorporated, and then talk about, are we close, where we missed the mark, any edits we want to make. And then based on that feedback from that work session, I would take that back, refine it, and then bring it back to the county court in early November for us to actually, you know, vote on. And so I just wanted to see if that sounds like a workable plan, if the timeline seems reasonable. Is there anything I missed or things that, you know, specific things you want us to make sure that we're doing if we implement this that you think would improve the process?
Well, I think this covers it very nicely myself. Gives us a
Okay.
chance to feedback. It gives the community a chance and the elected officials, and you know.
The timeline looks good to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what I'll do, I see Lisa's on, and so what I'll do is she'll reach out to each of us individually then, just to make sure that we don't inadvertently have violate a public meeting law, to reach out to each of us about our own kinds of feelings about where we need to go with the strategic plan. And then that'll give us each a couple of weeks to get some thought and get some thoughts back to her, so she just has a lay of the land for us to start drafting surveys. All right, so more to come on that one. We'll move on to 6.4, which is discuss modification of Condon Scholarship Foundation Special Project Grant Award. So during our July 22nd board meeting, during their July 22nd board meeting, the Condon Scholarship Foundation met, and they made the decision due to COVID to cancel their annual fundraising dinner and auction. And you guys probably remember they were one of the recipients of the Special Projects Grant to help support that annual dinner for this upcoming fiscal year. And given that the annual dinner is the organization's sort of primary fundraising source for their scholarships for this current year of seniors that's coming in, they're requesting that they be allowed to expend those funds as scholarships rather than go towards the dinner that is now canceled, basically. So I just needed, if you guys are game for that, I just needed authorization to be able to go back and amend that agreement and allow them to expend it. The other thing is we may need to bump the time that they actually cut those checks, because generally we say that it's a fiscal year, but I think they probably usually cut those checks like early fall when the kids are actually going back to school. So it'll probably be fall of 2021 when those scholarship checks are actually cut. So I would just work with them to figure out a date that would work well with them if you guys are game for them using the funds that way.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a good move for us to make. Help them out.
Okay. Leslie?
Yes.
Okay.
I do too.
So can I get a motion from you guys just to authorize me to modify that grant agreement so that they can use it as scholarships instead of their dinner.
I move to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 Special Projects Grant Award to the Condon Scholarship Foundation, allowing the grant funds to be expended directly as scholarships, and to authorize the county judge to prepare and execute an amended grant agreement reflecting the same.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 Special Projects Grant Award to the Condon Scholarship Foundation, allowing the grant funds to be expended directly as scholarships, and to authorize the county judge to prepare and execute an amended grant agreement reflecting the same. Is there further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on to 6.5. Chris is here with us, and I'll just do the overview, but then I'll turn it over to you, Chris. Basically, Chris is requesting that she be allowed to purchase 15 portable radios for the North and South Gilliam fire districts. These will be portable, single band, 700 radios, and will potentially cover all of the agencies with 700 band radios. There's a sole source provider bid in your packets from NASPO Value Point, which we got through Motorola. The bid was for $53,714.23. And there's funds available from the Economic Enhancement Fund. There's a revolving law enforcement fund that those could come out of. And I did want to say one of the things, and I think Chris will probably go into this, you'll see that there's a 911 budget that Teresa sent out last night, I think. But one of the things we're going to have to sort of address in probably next year's budget is that the funds that usually sit at 911 to cover a lot of these purchases are about to be completely exhausted. And so we need to look at providing a sort of a permanent fund within the county's budget so that Chris doesn't have to come to us every time she needs a radio. Did I capture it, Chris?
Pretty much.
Did I miss anything? Do you want to add to that?
The bid for the $53,000 is for the 15 radios. I think it's 7 for the north end and 8 for the south end. These are the portable radios that are the 700 band. We have tried, and let's see, not last year, but the 2 years before that, applied through Homeland Security grants and were rejected both years because the state has kind of decided that they're not going to be funding a lot of radio equipment anymore through the Homeland Security grants. So we were not successful either one of those years to get the money for the coverage of these. And I feel like we've kind of delayed it as long as we can. We've been able to get all of the ambulance departments covered with the single band 700 portables. And this is pretty much hopefully the last big purchase that we have to make to make everybody feel comfortable enough that they have the coverage for the 700. This bid also includes, because of ordering 15 at a time, we were able to get a $2,000 discount because of the number that we're ordering at one time. So the bid, it doesn't show it, but there is a $2,000 discount. So looking at that as well. And a couple of years ago, when they went and redid the Economic Enhancement Fund, the ordinance, I guess, they were able to say that, 911 equipment could be covered out of the law enforcement fund. And so that's where I'm requesting this come out of. According with the other budget, though, that I did have Teresa send to you, I just wanted you guys to see what kind of numbers I end up having to send to so Frontier Regional pays for my 911 bills, because that's where my 911 money went in 2012 when the state said our money couldn't go to the counties anymore. It had to go to the dispatch center. And so it's slowly dwindled. When we first started, it was at 210,000. And so I feel pretty good that we've been able to squeeze it out this long. But a lot of these bills that I send to dispatch are for batteries, are for depot repairs, are for installs, I should say uninstalls from an old vehicle and then reinstalling the same equipment into a new vehicle for fire trucks, ambulances, you know, and stuff like that. So a lot of these bills that I do send down there, I would love, my idea is this next budget season is to sit down and create a 911 budget fund in the general fund, starting out like at about $25,000, and be able to just pay those monthly bills or those day wireless bills that I need to pay out of there. Cap that fund at 50,000. Like if I don't spend anything out of there, fine, but only cap it at 50,000, leave it at 50,000, and just regenerate it every year to bring it back up to 50. That would be wonderful, and would be a great avenue for these emergency service districts too that do not have a lot of these districts do not even have the half cost to pay for a radio, because at one time, like when I use the money from the dispatch center, they have to come up with half of the cost for a radio. And a lot of these agencies or districts don't have that in their budget as well. So that's why I'm trying to go for 100% coverage through this county general fund if I can get it done. And for this bid that I have for these 15 portables. It's, yeah, it is what it is. Our money is going bye-bye. I don't know what else to say. All of the tax money that the tax money that we used to get to be able to use all goes to the dispatch center now, and the state is you know, very strict of what can and can't be used for it. So yeah, so that's about it. I don't know what else to say. And day wireless is not cheap. We all know that. So yeah.
Any questions for Chris?
And this equipment isn't inexpensive either and very necessary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Leslie, any questions for Chris?
I don't. I think we need to move forward. So I'll make a motion to accept the bid of $53,714.23 from Motorola Solutions for the purchase of 15 portable single band 700 radios as per the bid dated July 28th, 2020.
Oh, she just froze again.
She did froze. What is with her? She needs to turn her air conditioning down.
Somebody call Arlington TV Co-op. Commissioner Wetherell.
Well, mine's working fine.
It must just be her circuit. I don't know.
It's where she's sitting in her house.
Ah!
You're back.
No, I don't have anything else on in my house. I mean, nothing else is using any bandwidth, or I don't know what's happening. Did you get my full motion?
No, we
got until the bid dated July 28th, 2020. I don't know if you had more to come after that.
I did. I'll finish. With funds to come from the revolving law enforcement line item within the Economic Enhancement Fund.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the bid of $3,714.23 from Motorola Solutions for the purchase of 15 portable single band 700 radios as per the bid dated July 28th, 2020, with funds to come from the revolving law enforcement fund within the Economic Enhancement Fund, or from the revolving law enforcement line item within the Economic Enhancement Fund. Is there further discussion?
Oh.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Chris, you got your radios.
Okay.
Yay.
I'm just waiting for, I just want, are you going into announcements now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll go into announcements in next meeting. Did you have something, Chris?
I just wanted to let everybody know, because I haven't talked to you, I think, since June. The fair is canceled. which I think most people know that we canceled the fair, but we are having what's considered called a Gilliam County livestock auction. And we're doing what we can to get the kids' animals in there, get them judged for their confirmation market classes, get some type of a selling order based off of grades. And so we've got the turkeys coming in, the small animal Thursday morning, then we're doing our beef Thursday afternoon or late morning, and then sheep and goats Thursday afternoon. We have Kaylin to take their pictures, and then they will leave, and the animals will not be kept. Well, the turkeys may be kept overnight until they can get them taken to butcher, I guess. But the animals will leave, the kids will leave. Friday morning, we come in with the hogs. They weigh in, we have our market classes, kids leave. And I'm not sure if the hogs are going to stay in the barn or if they're going to go to Carrie and Corey Wade's. Carrie and Corey have graciously volunteered to keep their animals, to have the animals at their feedlots and over at Open Country. The kids will go bye-bye. We'll put all the pictures together for a slideshow, and our auction is 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. And we are having it outside. So we can have potentially as many people that are going to show up, strategically socially distanced with masks and hand sanitizer available. We'll get the auction done and we'll be done for the weekend. This is kind of similar to what other counties are doing. We're just doing what we need to do to try and help the kids out to get their animals sold. With that being said, we also have the threat that our fair check from Oregon Department of Agriculture next spring may be cut by $25,000. The state legislature, I guess, came out and talked about cutting fairs, cutting us $1 million cut to the fairs because of the lottery funds. So they're saying that we could see a 50% reduction in our check come next spring. So I guess we'll wait and see what that looks like when that check shows up next spring. That's all I got for the fair.
Chris, I have a question. When you said Saturday at 10 a.m., would that be September 5th?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
At the fairgrounds.
Yes, and the place where we've looked at, we got to really go and look and see where the sun's shining at 10 a.m. because we're doing the slideshow, and I really wanted to kind of do it like up against the big roll-up door of the beef barn. It's nice, bright white, background, and then just have everybody kind of out on the asphalt, strategically distanced apart and stuff like that. So, so we're going to be outside, and we've also talked about having it in the main grandstands outside, but there's not really any place to really have a good slideshow. So we're just kind of weighing it, and we'll see what we can do.
Good job.
Yeah,
Thanks,
good job, Chris.
Yeah.
So other announcements, Leslie, Sherrie, either of you guys have anything?
I just have a quick one. Well, okay, I have a public health meeting next week on Tuesday. We will be doing interviews at the end of the month to try to fill the vacant director position. And then I spoke with a roadmaster Monday morning, I believe. He is interested in purchasing a large piece of equipment. He talked to Teresa, and he's going to get some more information back to us at the beginning of the week, and we'll try to get it on the next meeting agenda. But just the little bit that he told me, he said it's a 966 front end loader, and it would be for the rock crusher. He said it's an exceptional deal. He said they usually lease for 5 years, but at the end of the 5 years, we have nothing to show for it. He said it's 2 years old. It has less than 800 hours on it. It's come back as a lease return. He thought that it might be around $280,000, but he said that's just a touch over half of what they would normally cost. So he feels like it's an excellent deal, and he will get us some more information so we can talk about it next meeting.
Perfect.
And that's all I have.
Sherrie, do you have anything?
I joined the CAPCO meeting at the end of July, and I was elected to the board. So I will be serving on that board going forward. I look forward to that and working with those people. let's see what else. I have been communicating via email with a representative from the EDA, questioning our wheat lab responsibilities to the grant money that we received from them, and what we can do to move forward with that. So they had some questions back for me, and so I need to get those answers to those questions and get back to them. I am going to visit with Jason Seeger from Watco tomorrow morning regarding the rail crossing and on Cedar Springs. That's what's going on in my world right now.
Good deal.
Awesome. You guys are busy.
Trying to be.
Well, I am, let's see. I don't have much more to add other than our next regular meeting will be on August 19th. I think we'll still do the Zoom platform. I think that's working. I also just wanted to note that the City County Fiber Council is tentatively scheduled to meet on the 20th. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about how to really make use of our fiber lines and see if we can encourage some providers to come in and serve outside of city limits and maybe improve service inside city limits. So that'll be a good discussion, and I see Catherine's on, so she'll probably be putting out an agenda here in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, those are the only real meetings coming up. There should be a Frontier Telenet meeting in a couple of weeks, depending on when we get those bids back from Roosevelt. So I'll keep you posted on those. And other than that, we're mostly working on a lot of policies around here. So we'll be churning out a bunch of stuff over the next couple of court sessions. Probably we'll have a lot of policy and things like that to just kind of get cleaned up. And yeah,
Well,
other than that,
I'll be in the courthouse next week to work with Lisa on some of those policies, and we'll work through that. Waste Management was supposed to give their quarterly report today. They did not show up. We'll be making contact with them and asking them to come to the next meeting. I have some questions for senior management, so it would be nice if, if we made a communication that they missed this meeting, and maybe senior management rather than just Leah. I appreciate Leah knowing, what the quarterly report is, but I do have some questions for management.
yeah, I think that's a good opportunity, especially since we're going to be bringing back that the energy payments thing. So I will definitely reach out and make that request that we have some senior management join us.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other pieces of business for the good of the order? I'm looking at both of you. All right. Well, it is, let's see what time it is. It is 10:43, and I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.